This is our last video, and it's on the subject of sampling. This is just a quick follow-up to a portion of the introductions video where we talked about how to address the concern, why was I chosen for this research? And as I mentioned in that video, our sampling is done through a computer. It's like the computer is picking numbers out of the hat. It's like a lottery. Anyone living on the boundary has the same chance of being chosen, and numbers are selected at random. And we can't substitute. So if someone doesn't want to participate, we can't just throw their number out or throw it back in the hat and pick another one. We really have to talk to the people who are selected. And this is known as sampling. Sampling is the process of selecting certain members of a group in a way that they'll represent the total group. So the thinking is that if we pick 500 people at random, we can then project from these 500 people to the 5,000 or so adults living on the koala boundary. This is different from a census. So you've probably heard of or maybe taken the U.S. Census. In a census, we talk to everyone. So everyone living in the 50 states should get spoken to as a part of the census. A sample is different in that we talk to a percentage of people. In this case, it's about 10% of people from each community that get spoken to. So this assures that we don't just hear from one group of people. We're not only talking to men or only talking to women. We're not only talking to people who live in Big Cove or people who have strong opinions or people who happen to be home when we knock on the door. Everyone aged 18 or older living on the koala boundary has the same chance of being chosen. So here's a really basic example of how sampling works. Here we have 5 people. Each one has a number, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And we pick 3 random numbers, like picking numbers out of a hat, only it's done by computer. And so in this case, we picked number 2, number 4, and number 5. So we have Sue, Sam, and Mary are the people we need to talk to. And we need to talk to these people, not just go knock on the door and talk to whoever answers. So you could go to Sue's house at 24 South Road, and maybe her husband Joe answers the door and says, well, Sue's not here, I'm home, talk to me. As an interviewer, you have to be able to explain to Joe that, thank you, we really appreciate you being willing to talk to us, but we need to speak to the person that the computer picked, and that's Sue. So this is just an example of how sampling works. And just some other things to keep in mind. If we only talk to people who are easy to reach or people who want to talk to us, we run the risk of having biased results. And we cannot go to tribal council with results from a biased survey. We need to be as methodologically sound and scientific as we possibly can. And that means you need to try someone's house at least 5 times before you even think about giving up. This means trying in the evening. If the evening doesn't work, go back on the weekend. If the weekend doesn't work, go back during the day. Or if you as an interviewer cannot go during the day, there are other interviewers who can, who will take over that household and try to get the interview during the day. As I mentioned before, we can't substitute on the spot. So you can't say, oh, the person I need to talk to is not here, let's talk to someone else instead. That absolutely undermines this methodology, and we cannot have on the spot substitutions. We will talk more about this in our in-person training, but now you have a little bit of background on sampling and how it works.